running out of money. Let's talk about the most expensive mistake in retirement, and it may not be what you think. Right now, somewhere in this country, a man is standing in a grocery aisle, putting the good coffee back on the shelf to save $1. He is 79 years old. He has more money in the bank today than the day he retired. And he is going to leave almost every penny of it behind, having spent 20 years too scared to enjoy a dime of it. But how could that be? That is not a rare story. It may be the most common one in all of retirement, because a third of retirees reach the end with more than they started with. Not less, more. They never ran out. They just spent their best years too afraid to find out they were going to be fine. If you have ever looked at your retirement statement and thought, I should probably save even more just to be safe, then this one is for you, because the odds are very good that you are more ready than anyone ever told you. And the real risk in front of you is not running out of money. It is running out of time, with the money still sitting there. So here is what we are going to do. I am going to show you the surprising way your own spending is going to change as you age, the way almost no one plans for. I am going to show you exactly what happened when researchers followed real retirees all the way to the end. And then, I am going to give you 3 simple numbers that tell you, honestly, whether it is finally safe to loosen your grip and start living. Hi, I'm Warren. I'm just a regular guy who got scared enough about my own retirement that I started digging into the actual research and unpacking the numbers, so I could stop guessing and start knowing. I am not a financial advisor, and I am never going to pretend to be one. Subscribe to this channel if you want retirement facts, not fear. And if you want to follow along with your own numbers, I have put together a retirement gap worksheet. The link is in the description below. Grab it now, and by the end of this video, you will know exactly where you stand. And you can learn more about the retirement gap in this video right here. Let us start with the thing almost nobody plans for: how your spending actually changes as you get older. Nearly every retirement calculator draws one flat line. It assumes the year you turn 65 costs exactly the same as the year you turn 90. But that is just not how real life works. And the research could not be clearer. Real retirement spending does not run in a flat line. It runs in the shape of a smile. Let me show you the whole smile in real dollars. In your first years, the ones people call the go-go years, you are healthy, you are free, and you spend. The trips, the projects, the grandkids. So say you are spending $60,000 a year. Then, somewhere through your 70s and into your 80s, you naturally slow down. The big trips turn into shorter ones. You are home a little more, and your spending quietly drifts down year after year, usually by around 1% a year after inflation, which adds up to far more than people expect, until you might be living just as happily on closer to 48 or 50,000 without even trying. Then, near the very end, it can tick back up again for healthcare. High at the start, lower through the middle, up a little at the end, a smile. Here's why that shape matters so much for your money. If you plan on that flat line, guarding your savings as though 90 will cost the same as 65, you will almost always hold back hardest in the very years you are healthiest and best able to enjoy it. You will hoard for a future that, for most people, quietly costs less than they feared. The smile is not a warning. For a whole lot of people, it is permission, and there is no way to get more time. So those early years are the last ones on earth you want to shortchange. But maybe you are thinking, that is fine for folks with plenty, but I have to be careful, because what if I run out? That is the fear everyone carries into retirement. And it is exactly the fear I want to look straight in the eye with real numbers, because here's what almost nobody warns you about. For a great many people, running out is not what actually happens. The opposite does. And I did not make this up. A research group called EBRI followed real retirees over time. All the way through, they found that about a third of retirees, somewhere between 31 and 43%, actually finished retirement with more money than the day they started. And even 2 full decades in, roughly 37 to 48%, still had more than 80% of their savings sitting untouched. Read that again. A third ended up with more than they retired with, and close to half had barely dipped into the pile 20 years later. They were not running out. They were quietly stacking it up, out of fear of a rainy day that, for most of them, never came. They won the very game they were so afraid of losing, and never once let themselves notice. Let me make that real with an example. Picture a couple, and I will call them Tom and Carol. This is not one specific family, just a common situation. Tom retires at 65, Carol a couple of years behind him. They have about $240,000 in their retirement accounts, a paid-off house, and a small pension on top of their Social Security. And for years, they are certain they are standing right at the edge of disaster. So they live like it. They skip the trips. They keep the thermostat down and reach for a sweater instead. They say no over and over to things they could easily have said yes to, not because they have to, but because every statement seems to whisper the same thing. The number is too small. Be careful. Be scared. Now, let us look under the hood. Between the pension and their 2 Social Security checks, they have about $4,000 a month coming in, guaranteed for life. And their real everyday life costs them about $3,600. So every single month, their guaranteed income already covers their whole life, with a little to spare. And they never actually need to touch that $240,000. So what does it do, sitting there untouched for 15 years? It grows, even at a modest pace. Money left alone that long can grow by half or more. So when Tom finally sits down with a calculator, 15 years in, mostly out of worry, here is what stops him cold. That account is not smaller, it is bigger, somewhere north of $350,000. After 15 years of retirement, they have more than they started with. They spent 15 years feeling behind, guarding a cushion they never once had to touch, and saying no to 15 years of living they could have said yes to. That is the mistake that quietly drains a retirement. It was never the spending, it was the not living. And this is not just a married couple thing. Picture a single woman, and I will call her Ruth. Ruth retires at 66 with about $150,000 saved, a small condo she owns outright, and Social Security of about $2,000 a month. Her everyday life on her own runs about $1,800 a month, so her Social Security alone already covers her whole life, with a couple $100 to spare for the rest of her life. That $150,000 was never her paycheck. It was her cushion. And yet Ruth does the exact same thing Tom and Carol did. She skips the visits to the grandkids. She agonizes over every repair bill. And she leaves that money untouched year after year. Because the balance feels like the only thing standing between her and disaster. Married or single, big pension or none at all, the trap is exactly the same. The danger was never running out. It was never letting yourself live. So how do you know if you are one of the people who can safely loosen the grip? It comes down to 3 simple numbers. And this is exactly what that retirement gap worksheet in the description walks you through. The first number is your guaranteed income. By guaranteed, I mean the money that shows up every month for the rest of your life, no matter what the market does. That is your Social Security, a pension if you are lucky enough to have one, and any annuity that pays you a set amount for life. Add those up. That is your floor, the ground you will always be standing on. Now, most of us do not have a pension or an annuity, and that is completely normal. For most people, the money on top of that floor is whatever your own savings can safely produce. Plus, for some, a little from a part-time job or a small business. That second layer is not guaranteed the way Social Security is, so keep it separate in your mind. Your income is really 2 layers, the guaranteed floor underneath and the money you create on top. The second number is what your life actually costs in a year. Not the frightened version, not the dream version. The real one. Add up the everyday things, the housing, the groceries, the utilities, the phone, the car, the insurance, the medicine. That honest total is your second number. The third number is the only one that really matters, and it is simply the space between the first 2. The gap. Take what your life costs, subtract your guaranteed income, and whatever is left is the gap your savings actually has to fill. And here's the truth, almost nobody says out loud. The one that would have saved Tom and Carol 15 years. If your guaranteed income already covers most of your life, then your gap is small, which means your savings were never really your paycheck at all. They were the cushion behind it. And a cushion is meant to be leaned on. That is the whole reason you spent all those years building it. So before you go, let me emphasize that everyone watching is in a different spot. In an ideal world, we would have all started putting away money in our 20s and have a huge nest egg that doesn't need Social Security. But as we all know, life doesn't always go according to plan. We're here now, so Let's make these years the best years. And for many of you, Social Security is going to be the backbone of your whole retirement plan, and you may truly need it. And there is nothing wrong with that at all. For others, you have saved more than you will ever spend. Your gap is basically zero, and that is a wonderful place to be. So keep right on going. I am not here to tell you your number is plenty, and you should just coast on Social Security. I am here to tell you the truth about where you actually stand, so you can stop being scared of the wrong thing. And those three numbers are how you find out: your guaranteed income, your real cost of living, and the gap between them. If you have not run yours yet, that retirement gap worksheet is waiting in the description. Take 5 minutes, fill it in, and you will know, honestly, whether it is safe to finally take the trip, spoil the grandkids, and live a little. If you got some value from this video, type the word 3 in the comments if you are going to take a look at your 3 numbers, so I know this one landed for you. And do not forget to subscribe. It would mean a great deal to me, and it costs you nothing. So go check out the next video right here, because once you see the signs, you may realize where your retirement really stands, and that you could have been enjoying it all along. Until then, this is Warren reminding you, you worked too hard to get here to get this part wrong. Take care of yourself.